Afternoon, everybody. I have had a bit of difficulty getting on here today, and so as per usual, I'm not convinced I'm going to see any questions from you. Um, I've tried to contact Jazz to ask where the questions to ask her, but I'm not getting an answer. So unless I can see any questions, it's going to be a bit of a struggle. However, one thing I will talk about quickly, in the hope that somebody in the distance comes back, is that there's a big campaign going on at the moment, and I think it's called But Not Maternity, about the restrictions that are currently applying to you guys, especially the ones that are watching that are having a baby. And obviously it's a really key issue, isn't it, about the fact that we can do. Oh, hello. Yeah, I've just seen that. So if somebody, thanks, Laura. If somebody has got questions, come back to me. So, yeah, so there's this big push about asking the NHS to change their approach at the moment to scans and all that sort of thing, and partners being there and birth partners and that sort of thing. And brilliant, I'm getting some questions. Fabulous. And it's just worth sort of having a conversation and starting talking about these things, because obviously we're now going into a period where restrictions seem to be going the wrong way, not the right way. However, I have learned that there are some of my colleagues that I know work in different hospitals to me where the restrictions are being eased a little bit, and partners are allowed to go into appointments and that sort of thing. So one, it's good to hear what your experiences are at the minute. So anybody out there who's been allowed to have their partner there or hasn't, or you know what's going on in your area. But as well, it's good to just have a chat, because I know that some of the campaigns are very much led by just get everybody back in, and you know, partners should be there. But I think that there needs to be a very balanced discussion about this, in terms of we want to keep everybody as safe as possible, and the opening up of lots of things is not necessarily in an ideal world what we would be doing, but it's a necessity in terms of the economy and all that sort of thing, which obviously there are things that are being opened that are nowhere near as important as you guys, and the emotional element and the support that you need. But it's working out together, because I think that there's going to be some, you know, some real sort of attempts from maybe people who are not in the working in the NHS to sort of say, right, where is the compromise here? So it's good to sort of talk to you guys to sort of say, well, actually, it's not likely that we're going to be able to get a blanket, just bring everybody back in and do whatever we were doing before. So where is the compromise? So I know a lot, the restrictions that have been in place have been no partners in scans, no partners in routine antenatal, well, in any of your antenatal appointments, only one birth partner, nobody there at induction. So we know that it's not going to be across the board. So it's working out what's the most important. Now, from my point of view as a midwife, what I feel is that your 20-week scan and your 13 and your 20-week scan are really key times that I think you should have your partner there. Now, somebody may think, well, actually, I'm okay with those, but I would like to have something different. And one of the other things that's come up as well is that I know that there's some hospitals will allow people to have their partner with them remotely, so they're on FaceTime or something like that. But there are other hospitals that say absolutely no way. And it's understanding your thoughts on that. From my point of view, looking at it from a midwife's point of view, I would feel a little bit uncomfortable being in a scenario where I didn't know whether somebody was filming me or not. Because as much as you can say to people, please don't film this, you can't necessarily guarantee that they will stick by that. And so from that perspective, I can understand why there is this no, but equally, I can also understand why there is the drive to do differently. So just understanding your thoughts, you know, if you're sitting here thinking, well, she's horrible, you know, just wondering what it is you think. So please do give me any feedback either in this forum or on my at the Honest Midwife, because I think it would be interesting to take your thoughts back to other colleagues that I know are looking at this at some point. So yeah, so I've got some questions here. Can having previously had LETs affect childbirth? I would hope not. I think that it's not fair for me to say no, definitely not. But you should be okay. The whole procedure is designed to protect the area and to get rid of anything that shouldn't be there so that it's healthy. So hopefully not. I will like to ask, does it make any difference either one is carrying multiple or singleton when having a prominent bump at just 8 weeks, although I have a bit of a big belly pre-pregnancy? Sorry, I didn't really understand that. I would like to ask, does it make any difference whether it's either one or carrying multiple or single when having a prominent bump at just 8 weeks? At that point, I would say probably not, because they're so tiny and they're right within your pelvis. So you really, it's unlikely you'd have a pregnancy bump caused by the baby. But that's not to say that you haven't got a pregnancy bump caused by the hormones, your growing uterus, that sort of thing. But I wouldn't say a more prominent bump at 8 weeks is a sign of twins, if that's what you're wondering. Just trying to see if I can get a bit of better light here so I don't look like Morticia. I'm 20 weeks pregnant. At what point should I be worried about my 18-month-old climbing, jumping on my bump? I think, Samantha, that's a really tough one because they just don't get it. I think at 18 months, I think you just got to keep saying to them, no, gently, just and start saying to them, there's a baby in there. And I know at 18 months you sort of feel like they don't understand, but they probably really do, will get it to a certain degree. So I don't think there's any time where it's ideal, but they're pretty hardy, these babies. So your baby would have to give you a real big wallop for it to cause any major damage. Question from Facebook fan. My 4-week-old son will not sleep unless he's on someone, so will not go down his Moses basket or crib. I understand he's still incredibly wrong and wants the contact, so try and deal with this. My husband and I take night shifts sitting up with him. As we know, we shouldn't sleep with baby on you, but it's killing us. I've tried swaddling, and for the first time I did it, he seemed okay, and I thought it was a breakthrough, but the next day he was having none of it. Little bugger. We can get him to sleep in his basket for maybe 45 minutes once a day, but that's it. And I've tried putting a t-shirt, I've tried worn. Right, okay. My advice is, if you can, is take your baby to a cranial osteopath. I would suggest that it may be that when you put him in his crib or his cot or whatever it is he's sleeping in, that he's uncomfortable, and that could be to do with some tensions in the back, or that it's sort of picked up whilst he's been inside. So my first port of call is always to see a cranial osteopath. Can you please explain pain relief options for labour, pros, cons, etc., which can I have and be able to stay in the birth centre? Right, Kerry, first thing I would say is that is a massive conversation. So I would advise that you get onto my free antenatal class, which is 2 hours long, and we go through all of that. But in terms of your question, what can you have and still stay in a birth centre? You can have gas and air and pethidine, and those are pretty much it. Obviously you can use your TENS machine and that sort of thing, but anything heavier than that, so like an epidural, you would need to go to the labour ward. But yeah, you can have, and you can use the water as well, don't forget. But get onto that class, it'll explain. So we talk about the side effects, the pros, the cons, all that sort of thing, at what stages it will be given. So it's just a bit of a bigger conversation. My daughter is 9 weeks old and refuses all her bottles. She's always so tense and always got wind both ends. She will drink about 3 ounces before winding, and as soon as she's burped, she screams and won't take any more, even though she's hungry for it. She's on medication for reflux, which hasn't helped solve the problem. We've made countless trips to hospital and the doctors, and is now on SMA lactose-free milk, but is still so unsettled. I feel like I've tried everything, no matter how much she drinks, whether it's 1 ounce or 5, she's always in pain. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. This is a tough one, and you are not on your own. I had a couple earlier on this year, and their baby has cried relentlessly for about 5 months and is just coming out of it now. One of the things that, again, going back to that cranial osteopathy, they can make massive differences to babies that are unsettled and are struggling with any digestion problems. So my first, again, it's always generally with any babies that are struggling, sleeping, feeding, that sort of thing, it's always go and get them to a cranial osteopath. When babies are in utero, so in your tummy, they spend long periods of time in fixed positions, and then they have to go through labour, and that fixed position is often with their head tucked down, and so there is a nerve that goes right down their neck and it sort of feeds into their tummy and digestive system called the phrenic nerve, and that often gets crushed. And equally, once if you think about when you were little, or even now, if we sit like this for any period of time and then take our head off, our wrist is really tight, isn't it? Because we've put that pressure on. Sorry guys. So we've put that pressure on and then we get that tightness, and cranial osteopathy can really help with that. What's your opinion on home birth for first time mums? I've previously been comfortable with choosing midwife-led unit, but the COVID restrictions are making me rethink. I think it just depends on your circumstances, whether it's a low risk pregnancy, how far away you live from the hospital, what your home birth team are like. So I don't have any fixed, no, you shouldn't do it. I think there is always that feeling that first time round it's a little bit of an unknown quantity in terms of, sorry, in terms of how that's going to keep going off. In terms of how you're going to labour. So I think that's the only difficulty. Whereas if you've gone through labour first time and it's all been straightforward, then it's much more, yeah, have a home birth, it's fine. But I think if you're comfortable with knowing that if you need a transfer in, that you live relatively, you know, near enough to the hospital and you're happy with that transfer, then yes, go ahead. What can be done? Does it mean, should I be concerned if my baby's head circumference and length of baby are on the 9th centile, previously noted on the 25th, and the weight is on the 25th? Health visitor is referring to GP who we see on Friday for his 8-week check. Oh, so this is a baby that's outside, on the 9th centile. I think it's just about monitoring that weight and seeing whether it starts to go up or continues to go down. So it's not a case that, yes, we should be terrifiedly worried, but it's just keeping an eye on it, basically. And again, that's more of a question for your health visitors. That's why I'm not really going into depth with it, because it's way out of what I do. Your baby's here now, and my knowledge is not as good as your health visitor, so she's doing right in referring you to the GP. Right, has any more questions down here? Here we go. 6-week-old grunts at night in his sleep. It's so loud we can't sleep at all. Been told it could be wind or reflux. Not sure what to do, as the health visitor said Carabel, but I'm breastfeeding. You could move your baby down to the bottom of the bed, you know, move the cot a little bit further away from you. That's not going to do any harm. Babies they're a little like truffle pigs, and it does keep you awake at night. There's not really a huge amount that I think you can do, just as long as if your health visitor said that it's just because of grunting, you know, that the noise is, because grunting can be a sign of a breathing issue, but if it's just more snuffling and making noises, and your health visitor said it's not a cause for concern, it's just trying to get used to that noise in your bedroom, it's not easy. My hospital offer diamorphine for first-time mums rather than pethidine. Are the effects similar? Yeah, I'd say diamorphine maybe not quite as much. We generally offer Oromorph, which is liquid morphine, which is, we tend to give that first and then would give pethidine later on. So no, it'll just be the same sort of drowsy, muscle relaxant sort of drops. My baby daughter's having dry and red itchy skin. What can we use for it? We use for eczema, thank you. Again, I can't advise on that, unfortunately, because I can't see her skin to advise. So you need to take her to your GP. First time mum here, wondering what to dress my baby in for bed for winter. My little boy doesn't like sleeping bags. I know they say you shouldn't use blankets, etc., until a certain age, and I'm really beginning to panic about what to do. I'm interested to know how old your baby is. Maybe try a different type of bag. Maybe try the Love to Dream bags, see if they're a bit better in there, or just use one single blanket and make sure it's tucked in at the sides. The blankets are not a problem as long as they are tucked in and secure. Any advice on carpal tunnel relief? There isn't a huge amount, my lovely, and I know it's really uncomfortable because it's compression of the nerves. Unfortunately, it will subside once your baby is here. Right, everyone, I am going to cut that short because there is someone desperately trying to get hold of me, and I have answered all your questions. I hope you are well. I will be back on Tuesday, as always, on Instagram with your baby club. And yeah, do get in touch with me with any thoughts that you may have with regards to the restrictions around COVID. You're all great, as always. Come and give me a follow at The Honest Midwife if you don't already. Me again. Hi Louise. The night grunting is more like straining noise. Any tips for helping relieving wind? We've tried the usual things. Louise, it might be worth trying the baby massage course if that's something that you're interested in, because that can really help. Quite often when Amy's running that, she sees mums flying off here, there and everywhere because we suddenly had a punami explosion. So that might be worth giving a go, and doing some cycling with the legs. They will grow out of it. They're just sort of adapting to outside world. I have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old. My pregnancies with them are completely different, and I've just found out I'm pregnant and I'm 9 weeks. As it's normal to feel cramping, didn't experience it the first pregnancy. It can be, Sammy, yeah. I mean, a lot of people do feel some sort of cramping. It can be a sign that things aren't right, but it can be just a sign that things are bedding in. It's very difficult to say at 9 weeks. So what I would say is just keep an eye out to see whether you have any bleeding or anything. But yeah, lots of stretching, growing, that sort of thing. So generally on the whole, it's normal. Right, I'm going. You are all great as always, and I shall see you soon. And again, we've just put up a link there. If anybody wants to go and have a look at the antenatal classes that I run, do so on the link in the side. I shall see you all soon. Take care. Bye.